All right, what you're looking at is a shower, a little wood shed and tool shed, and this is all of our tongue and groove for the walls. At least that's what I think. That's a lot of wood. That's a ton of wood. And Heather and I are going to put it in there as much as we can and strap it down. You don't have to help, but you can watch. So we're going to get to it. Don't laugh too hard. So technically this is the second load of logs we've brought back to mill up and use for different things that were not done on site. Some buddies helped me out. We loaded up a trailer full last fall and brought them back, and we've been just chewing through those. And we needed more. So, a few weeks ago, wife and I went up there and we cleaned up a bunch of the trees that were down, a ton, and it looks really good. And we cut all those up into 9-foot sections and used the tractor to put them in this huge pile. But the problem is I can't bring the tractor up and load them up in the trailer because then I got no room for the tractor. So we decided we'll just go up and load them manually, and honestly it wasn't that bad. It took about 30 minutes. Some of these are pretty heavy, but you just drag them up and lift what we can, drag what we can. And we were able to get a pretty darn good load of logs. So all of these logs, accompanied with the other logs that we previously did, are going to let us do most all, if not all, of the tongue and groove. So we're super pumped about this. This is that finishing work that, really set the cabin off. So stay tuned. That's it. What'd you think? Now we get to strap it down. That's boring. Big yellow straps. Funk, funk. Good to go. Get a drink for us, would you? And these bugs. Love it. So after getting the logs home, the next step was to mill them. And what we did is we basically just cut all 4 sides to give us a beam. And then we cut them into 1-inch slabs, and that's what we started with. And several logs were cut to make this happen. All right, so we have the tongue and groove, 5 passes in. And I think we're gonna need probably 2 or 3 more at least. And it's about 20 minutes per pass. Plus, you gotta empty this and so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of time here and there and setting up. But it is a long process, but it's definitely going to be worth it. So we're super excited to see how this turns out. Stay tuned. Coming along. So if you've seen some of our other videos, then you know that planing wood is something we do a lot of. And I didn't want to show a ton of it, so this is just a repeat process. We're going to move on to edging, which is next, so stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to put a straight edge on boards that do not have a straight edge. Now my example here is a bunch of red pine, jack pine that I milled, and I was able to run it through the planer. These are going to be knotty pine tongue and groove for the walls of the cabin. Problem is right now is these edges are not straight. Some of them aren't wide enough too, but we're going to sort those afterward. But I'm going to show you how to do a straight edge. All right, so on our straight edge work, the first thing we did is we sorted these by width, because what I need to do is obviously straight edge them all, but then I need to find the skinniest one and make them all that width so they're all consistent. So this is the farthest on the right here is sort of the slush pile. I don't know if I want to make them that skinny, but this one's a contender. So
I'm gonna run them all through and figure out what we got. Stay tuned. Good times. So let's take a closer look at these. You can adjust them, but the problem is all the way down, they'll clamp down a board that is about 3/4 of an inch. So if you need something thicker, you might need to raise this up and just get a platform, and that should do. One quick thing when I set these up, when it's all the way down, I make sure that this is far enough away from the edge so it wouldn't hit the fence. In this case, I'm using my level as a fence because I want something a little longer, but it's pretty easy to use. Now this is a very repetitive process over and over, and we have to be careful because table saws are pretty dangerous. So when we lifted it off, we were very careful, took the board off, put another one on, set it back on, all very, very careful. Once we had all of the straight edges done on one side, you know, we put them in that pile over there, then what we would do is flip them over and run the newly straight edge right along the fence and adjust the width there and get the right size board. So once we had all this done, which it took, what, 117 boards when we were all finished, then we were finally able to do the tongue and groove, which is what's coming up next. Welcome back. Our next step that we're doing here is getting these tongue and groove boards ready for the walls. So the old router died on me, and I had to make some improvements with all these boards. There's 116 of them. I needed to get something a little bit better. So what I did is I fixed up my fence a little bit using some parts from the old router table that I had and added on a dust collection bit that'll hook right up to my shop vac until I get my dust collection system routed around the whole shop. But I picked up this this new router lift, and then I bought a new router too. I figured, hey, I'll just bite the bullet and installed the T-Trax, and then I got the DeWalt router in there. You can see I ran a couple through to test it out, but this is really, really nice. I'm gonna put a link in the description to both of these. I'm very, very happy with them. And also my tongue and groove bits, because there's a few different ones to use, and I chose these with the 3/4 inch thick boards. Then of course the feather board kind of helps keep things uptight against the fence. So I'm gonna get started on this. We've already got probably 40 of them done on one side. So what I'm gonna do is do the male side of the tongue and groove first on all of these, and then switch the bit over and do the other half. So stay tuned, and I'll run a few through and let you check it out. Now when you do these, basically you find the face that you want to be exposed, and you put that face down on the router table and run it through, and then when I switch bits, you just turn it around. So what we've been doing is we write B for the back. That way we don't goof it up. Now we were ready to flip the boards over, and as you can see, we ran them through and they slowly started stacking up. We were able to finish both sides, and we ended up actually getting about 117 boards. The leftover bits that we had, we're gonna use those for trim, and we did get a chance to go up and install these. So the next bit you're gonna see is the big reveal, and we're so excited. Unfortunately, we can only get the walls done except for a little bit on the very top row, so we're gonna need to mill more wood, let it dry, and then come back in the spring and finish up the actual ceiling. Well, the day finally arrived. All that time and all that work was finally ready to pay off. Now, the tongue and groove actually went on pretty well. There were some times when some of the pieces were a little difficult to put on, basically getting the tongue to fit inside the groove just because of the way the wood moved a little bit. We didn't clear it. We plan on doing that maybe later on with some water-based clear. But overall, it went pretty darn well. You know, it's good to bring a rubber mallet and cut off the end of one of them that you're not using and just kind of use that to help drive them together. This trip was great. My folks decided to come up and give us a hand, which was outstanding. You'll notice too that there's plywood up where our cabinets are going to go. We decided not to waste tongue and groove behind the cabinet, so we just put up some plywood, and it gave it a good base to go to. So again, overall, really happy. The wood that we had basically was able to finish the walls, except a small little bit on the very, very top of each of the walls, which is not a big deal. Our next plan is to mill some wood, let it dry, and then do the ceiling in the spring. So the key thing here is letting the wood dry. We didn't dry probably 2/3 of it all the way. It was cut from trees that were down a couple years, but still it had enough moisture in it to make it a little difficult to plane and tongue and groove and sand when we were finished. But it still turned out nice. So we hope you enjoy this. It was a labor of love. So if you liked the video, please click like and consider subscribing as we put out more and more content. Thanks for watching.